Thank you everyone for joining me on this curious journey of ABCD, anybody can dashboard. And we are going to build self-serve Looker dashboard. Well, it is a very quick crash course, so if you can follow along, you can build it with me. Otherwise, you can watch me build it and then you can get the recording. So a little bit of introduction. My name is Pallavi Sharma. I work as a senior data analyst with Learning Enterprise, and I've been with ASU and Learning Enterprise for over 4 years now. And in my role, I work with data every day, and I love working with it. We are going to play a little game with a show of hands. Raise your hands. Never have I ever waited a week for a simple report. Never have I ever wanted to explore data but didn't know where to start. Oh, I guess we have all the data experts. Never have I ever given up and made my own chart in Excel. And never have I ever sworn I'll learn Looker or Tableau next month. I know, we've all been there. So let me take you on this journey of learning Looker dashboard. But first, why do we need self-serve dashboards? Well, we want to make faster decisions. We have less time. We have to make decisions on the go. And self-serve dashboards enable us to make so. We have more questions, we are curious, and we want to have more insights. And that's why self-serve dashboards will help us make those decisions. We also want to have democratized insights. We want people to have control over what decisions they make and how they make it. And in doing so, we're also empowering them to make decisions for themselves with the data and have more confidence in that data. It also fuels innovation, which is very valued at ASU. And then it champions collaboration among so many teams, as we know with data. And just a little bit of affirmation, if you can work in Google Sheets, you can dashboard. But before we begin, there is a little bit of housekeeping about knowing your data. So as you know, dashboard in itself is nothing. It is based on what data we have to offer it. And if we give it inaccurate data, it is going to give you inaccurate insights. So some things to keep in mind before you start dashboarding with the data you have. You have to know about the health of that data. Does it have missing values? Does it have any outliers? Are the values standardized? Is it a stale or a fresh data available? So ask your questions. What are the business rules in context with your department? What does an enrollment mean? How is it different from a student? So ask those questions to your data experts. And even when you're talking about enrollments, for example, what is the exact definition? What does that enrollment mean? What does that enrollment mean when, let's say, you're talking about it at registration or at 21st day? So, and that's why the definitions change. So be mindful of those definitions. What is the source of your data? So is it a survey data? Is it a form collected data? Is it from PeopleSoft? Is it from Canvas? And how often is that data collected? Is it a manual collection? Is it collected through automatic pulls from that data? So it's important to know those bits about that data. Who is the data of that? Who is the owner of that data? So who do you go and ask questions about that data if you find some anomalies or if you want to know more about that data? And lastly, when was that data last refreshed? So if you're going to make decisions based on this data, it's important to know if you are confident in that data, how fresh that data is. And lastly, if you're not alone, if you want to know more about your data or if you have any questions, ask your data experts, your data team. Remember, with great data comes great responsibility. So we'll get right into the demo here. I have a fictitious school, which is School of Excellence. Everyone is very excellent there. In that data set, we are today working with a department-wide instructor data set, which has their enrollments over various terms, the student satisfaction for their courses, and how many coffee cups they consumed during that semester. Yep. And if you want to follow along, you can use this QR code to make a copy of that data set. Totally okay if you don't. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay. And the question that we're going to answer today, how does coffee consumption correlate with time spent grading? So let's go to our Google Sheet here. This is a very perfect data set, so it has metadata with it, and this data set is very perfect. There's no outliers, no missing values, everything is normalized. So savor this moment. Okay, on the metadata, so let's go to data set, and it's very simple. Go to extensions, Looker Studio, and just create a report. It'll ask you if your data set has headers, if you want to include hidden rows, and I want to do everything. So let's create. So Looker gives us a basic report so that you have something to start working with. It adds some bits of filters. It gives us the diagrams and visuals that it thinks would be useful for us. It may or may not work out. So you're free to delete them and start all over again. I'll go over a few of the things here. So if you want to add more data sets, you can add from here. You can use another Looker. You can use Google Sheets, Microsoft. You can directly connect to the BigQuery as well. If you want to use other versions of charts, so like pie chart, maps, or another column and line chart, you can use through this option. And then there are a ton of community resources as well. Adding other controls, so like if I want to add more filters, more text boxes, check boxes, I can do so, and then adding more context and description through text. I am going to delete this visual and then start afresh with a scatter plot. So with this scatter plot, my question is, how does coffee consumption affect the grading? And now you can see it has given me some visuals, that some fields on this chart that it thinks might help me. I'll keep the department. For one of the metrics, I would keep coffee cups. So it's just basically a drag and drop on the metrics. And the other metric would be my hours graded. And then as I am building this chart, I can see there is an upward trend. So can I say that more the coffee cups, more the hours graded? Which sounds about right, yeah. As you spend more time grading, you would consume more caffeine. I do want to customize this chart a little bit. So, and as goes with the theme that Cole in morning told us about, I'm going to declutter this chart as well. So going over the two tabs that would be my best friends here. One is setup, which would be used to set up this chart, and then styling, which would help me format this chart. So on here, I think I'm pretty much done with how I need to set up. So I'll go over to the style. I'll add the title later on when I see the connection. I'll keep the same color. First of all, let's get rid of these grid lines. I don't like them. And I don't need the legend. And let's add the title now. So it says distribution of coffee cups by hours graded. Does that convey anything to you? Does that say anything? Do you know what's happening there? I'm going to rename it to more grading equal to more coffee. Um, and then I am going to make it more obvious. And then in my scatter chart, I don't know what these things mean. So like which department is what. So I turned on the data labels on scatter chart, and I know sociology department consumes so much coffee. Okay. Do I want to color the bubble? Maybe. Or maybe not. No. Um, okay. So from this chart, what I learn is sociology department consumes more coffee because it spends more time grading. Um, does it work out for any of the particular instructors? Like, let's look at Dr. Carter. So Dr. Carter consumes same amount of coffee, even if he grades more hours. So let's look at some of the other samples. So when you look at more samples, you would see that this correlation that we are seeing, that if you're grading, you would consume more coffee content, may not always be the causation. So beware of those pitfalls. For now, I'm going to keep all the data here and then add a little bit, add my title here, which would say this is coffee cup consumption. And now that we are behind on time, I was hoping to add one more chart, but maybe not. So all I'm going to do is make this chart a bit larger. And it just took me, I think, 5 minutes to make this chart. And that's how easy it is to make charts from your Google Sheets in Looker Studio. Now, once we are done with this chart, there are a few other things that we should talk about. Dashboards are important, but data governance is importanter, more important? Michael Sott would disagree. So in data governance, always validate your data. Check for sums and totals, checks for the metrics, check in with your data team, cross-reference with the raw data set that you have, if the numbers match, and if you're seeing the trends that you were hoping to see. Consult your data stewards. If you have any questions, consult them. They would be very willing to answer your questions and not use incorrect dashboards or incorrect insights to make decisions. Practice version control. So if you want to experiment on the dashboards that you have already made or any of the sheets, make a copy and then experiment on it, because the dashboards that you have are already a source of truth. So try not to mess with the source of truth. The data sets that we share, you have to practice sharing, you have to practice permissions, putting permissions on those data sets. So sometimes view access works fine, but sometimes edit access works fine. So keep in mind the kind of data that you're sharing. If it's FERPA, if it has FERPA information, does your consumers are FERPA compliant? So make sure you are keeping those things in mind when you're sharing your data. And then try to keep your dashboards automatic refresh so they are not stale, and add the last refresh dates. Keep an alert on anything, any spikes, any dips that you see in that data, so you're informed of those alerts. And then, as I have been saying, involve your data team. I'll share some of the best practices that we use at our team, and that was discussed in today's keynote as well. So try to limit your insights to one chart only. Try not to overwhelm the consumer of that chart so that the message gets lost. Keep clean titles on the things that you want to deliver. Remove all the clutter, so like grid lines, use consistent coloring, do not use extra words in there without context. You have know the difference between using a chart versus a filler. If you're just curating copies of a similar chart, I think it's time to create a filter. Add the definitions and last refresh date. It's always good to have definitions on your chart so that you know later on what you used and your consumers are also aware. Um, be be consistent in using color coding. So if your green means schools of excellence, it should mean schools of excellence in every visual that you use. And try to use accessible friendly colors. If not, try to use alternate text or try to use shape in your visuals. And then always validate. Know your audience. If you're creating something for yourself, it's okay to be messy, but if you want to share that with your leadership or with other teams, it's good to add context to those visuals and make them visually appealing. In short, keep it simple. Some of the pitfalls that I have already discussed, but just recapitulating them. When we use incorrect metric definitions, they can convey different message. So if you're using enrollments, but you mean learners, that can convey different meaning, and then it can lead to incorrect decisions. Misinterpreting correlation as causation. So does coffee consumption had anything to do with, let's say, course satisfaction? Maybe course satisfaction looked high as the coffee consumption increased, but that does not look like a reason. So be aware of the things that can seem correlated, but they might not be. Don't overload your dashboards with too many clutter. So more colors, more text, more grid lines. Just try to limit it and keep it simple. Add context. So as we saw in today's keynote, visualization as well. So if there was no context in the visual, we would not have known like that 2019 was the year that macadamia nuts was introduced. And then not using a data dictionary. As a developer, I can attest to this fact. Have a data dictionary for making your life better as well. In conclusion, for happy dashboarding, all you need is a little bit of curiosity and a whole lot of accurate data. With that, build one dashboard. Even if it's a small dashboard, if it's a small visual, build and validate it, and then collaborate and educate your peers to enable the data literacy and data empowerment among your departments. Here is the QR code for the demo data and the Looker dashboard. The Looker dashboard has a lot more visuals than what I showed today. It's a demo dashboard, so you can make a copy and happy dashboarding. And I'm happy to connect. Thank you.